Hey guys, it's Aegis here, back with another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at Companion Core Ballista. It's a pretty common build that's popping up in the meta now, mostly because it's one of dooley's only good ways with competing against the charge items that we're seeing. Everyone have the infinite charge items. Ballista itself can't infinitely charge, or it can if you have the right skills. Things like mixed message and whatnot could possibly fully haste a ballista. But for the most part, most games you're not going to get a fully hasted ballista that charges itself. However, you can definitely still win with this item, mostly because the biggest change that it received is it does charge itself when it gets haste. It may not be able to fully charge itself in a loop like the other items are. However, whenever you haste another item, it also gains damage, which is the biggest thing. So not only does it charge itself on 3 seconds on an 8-second cooldown at Diamond, but it also gains damage whenever you haste another item, so it has innate scaling. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we talked about yesterday, is a lot of the infinite charge builds do not have a fair amount of innate scaling, or they haven't fully figured that out yet. So that's why I feel like, and a lot of people have seen that Ballista is an extremely good item this meta. I mean, it was pretty obvious out of the patch notes that Ballista was going to be most likely dooley's strongest weapon because of the charge meta and the fact that it innately scales. And it does seem to be a big way to combat some of these instant charging builds. So this is my take on a ballista build, and basically what you want to aim for when you're going for ballista is getting as many procs of haste as possible. And it's not only procs of haste on the ballista. Procs of haste on the ballista, of course, are really good, because then you're charging your ballista more. However, you don't want to refuse other procs of haste as well, because every proc of haste will add damage to the ballista. So you want every all the types of haste that you can get in a build will be really beneficial to you. If not, even if your items are over it, and this is why I kind of like this build, because even if your items are over hasted, they're still achieving the effect of giving damage to the ballista and scaling it faster. So we start out with a force field and array. Again, ballista, I'm pretty sure starts at silver, so if you do a ballista build, you're probably gonna have to start with a couple other things, and then eventually, get yourself into that. The way that this game starts, I'm not really thinking of doing ballista. I think in the early part of the season, I really wanted to make a force field friend build work, and that's kind of what I was trying to do here, with like a brick buddy or something. But eventually we pivot out of that and figure something else out. So like items like this, the proboscis, there's a couple neutral items that dooley can pick up in order to gain that charge, that instant charge that other classes have. The proboscis is probably the best, or the proboscis, the probe, I guess we'll call it, because there's no kissing there. I learned that from Crypt the other day. But yeah, the probe is one of the items. There's like neutral toxin and a couple others that if you do scale it, I'm pretty sure they can be fully charging items that can help you charge the core and possibly, gain haste or give haste to something else to charge a ballista or something like that. However, dooley does have the weakest identity of the fully charging items right now. So today and tomorrow, the builds are going to be mostly around how to combat that. As a dooley player, I know that a lot of people were dooley players last meta because dooley was really strong last meta, and now he's not the strongest, I would say. I'd honestly say that Pig and Vanessa are way stronger because of what they can achieve with their items right now. However, dooley is still really good in this meta, and I think that it goes to say the balance is coming a long way, because if dooley is the weakest hero in this meta, I've had a lot of fun playing him, and I think he's still extremely good. So that means that they're doing decent with the balance of the game, because the weakest hero is still decently good in it. And you'll see from tomorrow's video, today's video, a couple of videos that I'm going to post in the future, that you can still easily win with a very good dooley build. You don't always have to rely on ballista either. This will probably be the one full-length ballista video that I post to the channel, just to discuss, you know, that it's an option that you can win with. But I don't, like I said in my first video ever, I don't think that the Bazaar will reward players that rely on one item to win consistently, because eventually you won't be able to reliably get that one item. Ballista you can get pretty reliably now. It's not the hardest thing to get. However, yeah, and we get it here. So it's like, you get it from most, you know, small, you know, you can get it from Kixel, you can get it from Middle, you can get it from Ayla. It's pretty reliable to get ballista in this meta because there's not so many items, but as the game progresses, these things will get harder to do. So we do have the ballista. We have Array, and we have Chris, and we have Bomb Squad. So we have a little bit of scaling, but I immediately want to make ballista work because it's one of my first. I think it's my second game with ballista. I tried it in my first ever game of the meta, and I did win with it. However, this is like one of the this build is a lot better than my first build, because I basically fully focus on getting ballista as much damage and as much charge as possible over the course of the game after we pick it up. I immediately understand that it's most likely just the win con in this meta. And I think this was like a day 2, possibly an end of day 1 game. But it was very obvious if you read the patch notes that ballista was absolutely insane. It says something when the developer himself, while he's going over the patch notes, looks at that and then looks at it again and kind of stutters. And I did watch Reynad go over the patch notes and do that. He kind of was like, that may be, you could definitely see in his face, he was like, that may be a little overtuned. And I do think that, I don't know if it's overtuned because of where all the other heroes are at. However, in a normal meta, ballista would be insane. If all these items didn't have these insane charge triggers where they were consistently going off, ballista, just on the fact that it scales and charges itself, even though it can't go infinite, quote unquote, would be absolutely insane. And it's still insane in a meta where that happens, mostly because of its scaling. And the fact that it's pretty easily enchantable as well, with something that is really beneficial. I mean, you can enchant it with shielding, you can enchant it with restorative, you can enchant it with any of the weapon enchants. And I'm not sure exactly how some of the status effect enchants work on it, like Mirkwood Bayou or the Pyrewood, the Fire one, whatever that one's called. But there's a lot of enchantments that you can put on ballista to make it really good. And we do get one later on that I do think is decent because of the update to the way that it works. So yeah, after that we just kind of focus on getting as many friends on the board as possible. I'm really trying to early ascertain as many possibilities of haste so that we can continue scaling the ballista, possibly more on the ballista. I think this entire game I was looking for mixed message, because I think if you take out all your weapons and then you just have ballista in with mixed message and you have some faster friends and whatnot, you can actually charge ballista. It's damn near almost infinite. Like, that's the closest that you can most likely get to making it infinite, because it consistently is gaining haste from mixed message because it's your only weapon on board. I don't think we ever get there, unfortunately. It's just not offered to me. I think I even go to haste skills specifically looking for it, and I'm really disappointed when I don't see it because I wanted to try it. But, you know, that's this game, like I said yesterday. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. You can't control what you get at times. And all you can do is look for it and hope. And that's what we do. Another item that's really good to upgrade, that we upgrade right there, is Bomb Squad. Again, I think I said this in my first video, but the audio was so terrible in my first video that I don't blame you for not remembering or knowing. Any item that you can upgrade its charge, and obviously that goes hand in hand with what we were talking about earlier in the video, but any item that you can upgrade its charge and how much it receives from an adjacent item or how much it can cycle is really, really good. So Bomb Squad's an 8-second item now, but at Diamond it charges 4 seconds when you use an adjacent item. And how fast you proc friends, you can easily put that between something like an Aiden and a core. It could be one of your best, if not the best, core chargers in your build. So a lot of these charge items are really, really good. They're really, really worth it to try out, and they can take your build to the next level. And even stuff like this where, you know, technically we're not using the Bomb Squad for the burn damage, we are using it to proc the haste, right? So it's really important to have something that's quicker out to do that.
But I can help you finish a fight.
So we get Bill here, and I do think I go for it, even though strictly I'm not sure if it was better, because we lose 2 instances of haste being applied to both the Armadillo and Hamlet. Yeah, I don't know why I would. Hopefully I don't sell off Bomb Squad. It should be Armadillo Hamlet here if I do sell off for Bill, which I'm pretty sure I do. Which doesn't make too much. I feel like I'm in a weird place with friends. And I do sell off the Bomb Squad. I think that's a huge mistake. Because Bomb Squad was already at silver. That is a big mistake. You probably want to keep the Bomb Squad there, and at that point Bill's not worth it. It was hard for me to see how much Bill was going to scale in the course of battle, but with Array I should have known that, you know, with Bill, and we do a Bill build tomorrow, so it's not like I don't understand how to build a Bill build. The Bill build that we have for tomorrow's video is actually insane. It's one of my favorite games to probably this date that I've played of the Bazaar, just because I was able to, what I was able to achieve we're fully in the meta now. With the video tomorrow, as far as like we're going up against the infinite scaling build, or not the infinite scaling builds, but the infinite charging builds with some scaling, and we're able to compete with a bulldozer and some interesting items and some interesting procs. So that video for tomorrow is really, really exciting. But in this video today, I do think that we sacked off too much for the Bill, and it was a little unfortunate because we get the Aiden after that, and Aiden Bomb Squad would have been insane. But you know, what can you do? I think a lot over the course of this run, I also get a lot of upgrades to Rush, because I want to convert hopefully into one weapon eventually, even though it doesn't seem like it by buying the critical Bill. I do eventually want to convert into one weapon and allow that weapon to carry me through it, which would just be Ballista. So I mean, here Ballista's still gaining decent charge, decent haze. However, I do think that it could have been better had we not sacked everything for the Bill, especially the Bomb Squad. The Ray is also not that big of a deal. I mean, the damage that it adds is kind of minimal. It'd be better for there to be another consistent source of haste there, whether the Ray was replaced by like a metronome or anything like that. You have to think of the fact that any source of haste is more damage than most just innate daring scamage items. Like the Ray is a decent damage scaling item over the course of battle for ballista. However, it's not the best. And then we come back here after I realize that's a mistake, and we buy the bomb squad back, which is one of the worst things that you can do in this meta, because then it loses a whole second of charge on 8 seconds, right? So it's a mistake, but it doesn't. I don't think it ends up affecting us too much. Bomb squad is definitely one of those items. I think you'll see in the next build that I prize a lot more, and I don't sell off my bomb squad in the next build because I realize how little. The biggest problem with selling off bomb squad and companion core is dooley, like we said in the beginning of the video, just doesn't have that many items naturally that increase charge when you level them up. Every other hero was, for some reason, and I think Crip said this best, like you know, Pig got Matchbox, and he got Marbles, and he got Yo-Yo. Vanessa got Turtle Shell, and she has Trev. Dooley kind of got nothing. He kind of got nothing. He has a ballista that doesn't fully, like, as far as the infinite charging stuff, he didn't get anything. Nothing charges itself infinitely for Dooley. Everything will always need help from something else, and that's what he meant from that, and that is very true. So with that, his charging items are still really strong, even though they rely on other things to enable them. So like it's not like bomb squad and ballista are weak. They are very strong items. They're just not as strong as some of the items that at least bomb squad isn't as strong as some of the other items that can infinitely loop. However, since ballista scales itself, it can easily, I think ballista is one of the only ones that can easily be seen as strong as some of the other items, because while you lose that continuous charge, the infinite charge, you are scaling yourself every time it receives haste. So you can make it proc really fast. It doesn't get slowed by stuff like marbles. That's another big thing. It's a medium item, so like these marble build procs, yeah, it's gonna slow, you know, the charge of it, but I'm already up to 600 damage on the ballista. The next shot kills, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where a lot of the items that other people go for in the infinite charge meta don't necessarily counter the ballista build, because you can have medium items. Ballista herself is a medium item. It's gonna have to be hit with like a specific freeze, or gonna have to be hit with like a slow enchantment item, or have to be hit with just like a straight up slowing item. And those things aren't fully ran right now. I know if people are going for the probe build, maybe they're running it, but if you're not really going for pro bussy, I think it's kind of whatever. And B1 B2, he's as far as the like normal diamond tier vendors, Form and B1 B2 have easily, I think we talked about Form yesterday. We don't see him today, but Form and B1 B2 have easily been my favorites, and I know that I have to sell off for the ballista. So we make some really tough choices here. I think we get the Ray out of here. It should be the Ray. Yeah, the Ray's out of here, and then we're just bomb squad, Aiden, ballista, man, because getting a diamond ballista by day 7 is definitely priority. Big thing that I don't do well this game is my econ. Like I said in my first video, I didn't get to discuss this on a video that actually has good audio. But like I said in my first video, I think that econ is extremely important in the Bazaar, and the fact that I'm not able to scale my econ really, especially when it's harder to get loot items, it's harder to just passively gain econ. You have to kind of seek it out yourself from events and whatnot. It's not too good, and it makes it so that I have to make a lot of weird economic decisions. And the more that you can avoid, what I've found in this meta is the more that you can avoid being at like 8 gold, 7 gold, and trying to be up, you know, somewhere at like floating 50 to 100 gold, the better it's going to be, because a lot of times you're sacking power in order to gain gold, or you're sacking power because you just can't afford it. It doesn't feel the best. Then we got Shielded Angry Balloon Bot, which I thought was interesting, but I can't do anything with because we don't really have shield item. We do have the turtle shell in, but turtle shell's not a friend, so eventually we want to sell it off. I was thinking about possibly using it, the turtle shell, because it is an infinitely charging item. If I could get something that shields, but as far as friends, outside of possibly getting Brick Buddy, I don't think that there's too many things that would have really charged that like crazy. Goes off quite a bit with you know, some of the other non-weapon items, and it would have went off decently well with the core,
like
the Brick Buddy and whatnot, but it's not really the build that I'm looking for. However, I mean, it's just kind of clear cruising. Like, Ballista's really the more resources that you invest into Ballista early, you can just snowball that out of control, and it's still like that now, because Dooley needs one item. That's also the power of Ballista that I want to talk about. Dooley needs one item to make it work. You just need to be Companion Core, and you need to have Ballista. And technically, you don't even need to be Companion Core if you can find the other sources of haste from other skills. But for the most part, you just need to be Companion Core, find Ballista, and find a couple decent low cooldown friends. There's a lot more things that the other builds have to make work if they really want to like be super overpowered and way more powerful than you. For example, Pig needs to find like Matchbox and marbles, which is pretty common, and yo-yo, and you know, some way to scale it, and he's got to figure all that out over the course of the game. And all you have to do is find one item. You know what I mean? It's just a lot. Even though you don't get the instant charge effect, there's a lot. What I'm trying to demonstrate is there's a lot of benefits from, you know, kind of sacking that a little bit, and being able to just get one item and make it super duper easy every time you do something. So the big thing there is I get a restorative enchantment on Ballista. That's huge for me because restorative actually scales with the item damage now. So it's basically like giving it lifesteal somewhat. I was thinking about giving it shielding because also shielding scales with the damage now. However, I don't want to keep the balloon bot. So that's the big key to remember there, is like if I wanted to keep the balloon bot, maybe, but I definitely want to replace the balloon bot with something that's possibly a little bit faster, possibly two different sources of haste if I can find two better small friends, whatever it may be. So that's what we're looking at there. But I was trying to say before, and we find the missiles, which is actually, you know, decent because it's a better charger for our bomb squad. What I was trying to say before is that the strength of only having to find one item to make your build work can't be understated. Everyone else has to find something a little bit more, or just more than one item to make their builds work. And the fact that you as Dooley only really want to find one, and kind of the other items that you place around it are at least a bit more free than having to find a specific item, that's the strength that you should feed into. And from that, you just look for as many sources of haste that you can proc with whatever build you're going for in order to give Ballista the most damage. Ballista, like I said, I think I tried to say earlier that Ballista works with Companion Core, and then I kind of corrected myself. That is not really true. As far as like Ballista, I have seen people run Ballista in different types of cores. I saw like a crit core Ballista with some of the haste skills. As long as the thing about running Ballista in some of the other cores is you're going to have to consistently give it haste so that it scales over the course of battle. Companion Core makes it easy because it hastes all your friends. So you always have a source of haste with Companion Core, at least one. You gain multiple, but and then you look for multiple. Like I found the metronome that allows me to, you know, give Ballista more stacks of haste, so now it can scale even faster with the metro, right? And now it basically feels like it's fully charge scaling because the last 2 seconds that it's not charge scaling, it's hasted. So it's just like a 2-second item hasted, and with the metronome, it does feel like at this point we're kind of there. we achieve that, you know, somewhat full charge scaling effect. And we're also looking for more methods of haste, which we get there. Every time we use Bomb Squad now, I think it hastes the core or hastes another item. We get the extra rush, I'm pretty sure here. I wanted Hunker Down, but I think I get the extra rush because of gold. But that's okay, because we have to remember that we spent our gold on the Metronome before. The Metronome's a huge upgrade. The reason why the Metronome's a huge upgrade is because it gives haste to Ballista, which directly not only charges it more, but it gives it more damage. So now we're basically at, if you look at the Ballista, it basically looks like it's one of these items that, you know, it's going to kind of look like that yo-yo a bit, but it's going to scale way better. Right? Like it's got 1, 2, and then it charges 1, 2, 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 then it charges. You know what I mean? So it's not that bad. You do have like 2 seconds there in between each charge that you have downtime that other builds may exploit if they have slowing and if they have radiant and if they have a bunch of these other enchantments that they can get. But for the most part, it's definitely an extremely viable option. No matter how much haste, you can get a lot of haste as dooley. And the biggest part of Ballista is, and you'll see it in this last fight that I have. From what I remember, I get most of my items get like perma frozen in this final player fight. And I'm able to just like, as long as you're applying some haste to Ballista and you're scaling it, a lot of these builds that, you know, perma freeze you or, you know, try and scale a little bit with these charge items, you'll easily be able to outscale them. As long as you're looking for your sources of haste. And you'll see it in this last build. We basically get, like I said, I'm pretty sure in this last fight, we basically get permafrozen out. And just by finding sources of haste, by being able to sneak through sources of haste through the freezes, we're able to make the Ballista work. Okay, this is the final day. This is kind of what it looks like. The Ballista receiving decent procs of haste. We have it. Scaling damage on fire items. Scaling damage on the Metronome and charge. Scaling charge and damage on the core. And possibly getting procced with rush to scale it in the beginning of the fight. And that's kind of the build. Other than that, we have static acceleration. That's why we kind of have those crits at the end of the fight, because every time we use the core, we gain 1 crit chance on all of our items. So Ballista eventually just, you know, if we live long enough, it ends up critting. Then we find Race Carl, which isn't really bad here. I mean, I think I replace Bomb Squad because we weren't able to upgrade it, yeah, which kind of makes sense. And Wallace, our slowest friend, with Race Carl, that charges every time that we haste it. And with all of the haste that we have in this build now, it actually works out decently well. I didn't really fully know if that was the right play, and now I'm looking at Chrono Barrier as well, because also increasing enemy cooldowns by a second is really strong. However, I think I would have opted more for the Chrono Barrier if it was at Diamond, because it's supposedly the last fight, and I was looking at that. But with the Race Car, I'm not sure if it was uniquely better, because we get 2 applications of haste on longer cooldown items, yes, but it's still 2 applications. However, Race Car does proc quite a bit in this final fight, and because it gets rush and, you know, ends up going off, and then it's a proc decent as well. So it ends up being a good charger either way. Whether it was better or not, strictly, I'm not sure. But here you can see our items are getting completely basically perma-frozen. He looks like he's scaling to beat us, but our Ballista is still gaining damage. She's getting some haste from the core, from the Metronome, and we're starting to sneak through. You know, the perma-freeze isn't fully there, and with that, we can sneak through a couple hits, couple hits, one more hit here and there, and this guy's gonna, yep, get shot down. So again, the biggest thing there is that, hey man, ballista scales. So if you can't perma-freeze it, if you can't knock it out of the fight 100% with big slows, big freeze, big something, it will scale, and it will eventually kill your opponent if you have enough sustain. And that's kind of where it was at. Definitely getting the lifesteal enchant on it gave us that sustain to make it there. But yeah, with all those different triggers that he had, and all the instant charging items, he doesn't have anything fully looping yet. He does have silver tier on the marbles, the bushel, and the yo-yo. However, just having those items loop quite a bit with Ice Cream Truck, and as strong as it is, made this build extremely, nerve-wracking to go into. And you can see how this build can even get 10 wins on his end. So yeah, but it's not enough for the ballista. So again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.